You're listening to the OMG Hour.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 268 of the OMG Hour. We are recording today, September 22nd, 2017. I don't know why I say today, because we certainly wouldn't be recording tomorrow, right now.
No, it's hard. I mean, it would be more difficult to do.
It would. Anyway, I am Sean Evans, and of course I am also known as Ziantane pretty much everywhere.
And I am Tico, known as Mr. Second Place in some places, and other places not so much.
Have you ever had someone actually call you Mr. Second Place, actually refer to you by your gamer tag?
And only in a game with people that, like, you know, when you're in mixed company with, like, people that you know and some, like, people that you're not familiar with, where, like, one of my friends has referred to me as Mr. Second Place while trying to get me to do, like, come over here and guard this base or something like that, but never
outside of gaming.
Never outside of gaming, no.
Do you identify with your gamer tag? Like, if
I would recognize it. If somebody said it, I'd recognize it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, somebody said my gamer tag. Like, you'd turn around. I mean, it's...
Because I've been Ziantane, like, not just on gamer tags, but on, like, back in the day of, you know, online handles in chat forums and stuff. Like, I'm Ziantane. Yeah. When I say everywhere, I literally mean that. So, Ziantane has actually become an identity for me. If you were to say Ziantane, I would respond just as quickly as if you said my name. And I'm wondering...
I would probably respond. I would probably, like, look at you weird, like, why are you calling me Mr. Second Place instead of... You know.
I'm curious how many people actually identify as their handles, as their gamer tag. It's cute, because I do. I've always said, I am Ziantane. That's literally who I am.
Well, I think it comes down to persona. So, because Ziantane isn't your handle, it's your persona. Well, yes, that is who you are.
It's who I am.
So it's easier to do that. It's easier for you to identify as that persona than it would be, like, you know, if somebody just walked us like, hey, Bill, even though, like, you know, maybe you played Bill in a third grade play, you know, you wouldn't you know.
Mr. Bumble, actually. I played Mr. Bumble in grade 6, and it was, Oliver Twist. I played Mr. Bumble.
Well, so, there you go. I did Oliver Twist when I was in, like, grade 5, I think, and I was stagehand.
Excellent.
Yes,
Excellent.
My acting chops clearly coming out early as stagehand.
Stagehand. Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. Anyway, gaming.
Yes, I've done it.
You did do some gaming.
Why
Excellent.
not?
Excellent. Do you want to start us off with something you played?
All right. So.
Oh, actually, before you do that. Just because I want to interrupt you.
Oh, done.
Where's Jeff? What's going on? What's his excuse this week?
Yes. Somebody needed to interrupt me, and since Jeff wasn't here,
right? So let's see. What's Jeff doing this week? What do you think? You're good at making things up.
Well, I mean, this is Jeff we're talking. I mean, he probably, like, did the phone come out? Did his phone? I think the phone came out.
The 8 came out, not the X.
Yes. So he's picked up his 8, and then he's gone back to the end of the line now to wait for an X.
That's he's getting both.
Yeah, well, and you can't just wait in the one line, so you have to go back around to the end of the line, because that's only fair.
Oh, okay, so he's going to be... I gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, so he's just waiting for another phone now.
So that's it? Your imagination only sticks with the iPhone? That's as far as your imagination goes when it comes to Jeff?
For this week, yes.
All right. I'll let you talk now, I guess.
All right.
And since Jeff's not here, guess what you get to talk about?
Sports.
Yeah, again.
So, we talked about this a few weeks ago when Jeff wasn't here about the Prelude, NBA 2K18, the Prelude. And so, since then, the actual game, NBA 2K18, has come out.
Where's your footage?
Yeah, so here's what happened. I don't know where my footage is. I've gathered it. I have played, like, 20-plus hours of this game now.
Oh, so not just the first 5 minutes. Excellent.
Well, further than the first 5 minutes. I've played several of the modes. I have a good understanding of the game and everything it's about at this point. But for some reason, the footage I captured is not uploading to OneDrive to allow Sean to grab it and throw it up on our show. So no actual footage of me being awesome at basketball.
So that's your excuse and you're sticking to it.
Yeah. So my thoughts on this game. I like it. I'm a fan of the NBA games. However, I don't think they did too much different from last year to this year. And the one thing that they did do, and this seems to be having a lot of people up in arms right now, is they have hidden a lot of the game behind a paywall.
What?
So normally what happens, I'm playing the career mode. So you start off with a player, you create them to look however you want, and you give them some skills, and they give them a little bit of a backstory and fun stuff. Like this year's character you create is a DJ who's impressed people at a street ball tournament, and they've invited him to come try out for the NBA.
He's a DJ.
He's a DJ. I guess he used to play basketball, then he stopped playing basketball to DJ a little bit, and now he's back in the NBA.
Okay.
So the problem that they have here is your character is you're supposed to be a believable character that you've been invited to try out for an NBA team, but they have your character, his stats are so low that he can't do anything. Like misses easy layups, easy shots, pretty much everything you do. So the only way to improve your character is to buy attributes. Like many RPGs. You buy your attributes. You get these attributes by participating in in-game events and stuff like that, or you can purchase what they call VC, virtual currency, and use that to upgrade your character. The amount of VC that it takes to get your character even halfway decent to not just want to pull your hair out when you're playing is so high that it's really a pay-to-win game, because you are playing. There's online games and online modes and stuff like that. Your character can't hit a shot unless you upgrade him.
Wow.
So this would be the equivalent in Call of Duty to say, well, here's your standard, bunch of old rifles that don't shoot straight, but for $5, we're going to give you this awesome laser-sighted, M16.
Yeah.
Like it's not cosmetic options that they're hiding behind this paywall.
So
it is actual.
Yeah.
So
they've turned a full-on $60 game into a pay-to-win game.
Yeah. Now you can grind it out. You can grind out the VC and stuff like that, and you can upgrade your character that way.
But is it actually a grind? Like, would it be annoying to do that?
It is such a grind, because I mean, every time you have to play, it's one thing if your character was okay at the game and you were getting better, but your character is garbage at the game. Horrible. Like it's. Wow. Imagine Destiny throwing things like, okay, well, we're going to start you off with your level 1 character, and you can't aim. Like you can't, if you aim at a guy and fire, you're going to miss him 90% of the time.
And yet the story is that he's been invited to try out because he's so good.
Oh yeah, he impressed people at a street ball tournament so much that they invited him to try out for the NBA. My character in the little tryout game that they have as you start off, like he missed like 80% of his shots. What? I could go out. Myself personally could go out and play against an actual NBA team and have a better shooting percentage.
So it's just not even realistic.
No, there's the thing. Like I missed, and then the guy's like, "Man, that was a fantastic game." I'm like, I had 2 points and shot 1 for 25.
This
over 15 times
is why I don't play sports.
It's not. It's just. I think the thing is they're trying to add that RPG element into it, but there's no if you have a bad game, there's no. If you do well, you go this direction. If you do badly, you do this. There's one path, and you're going to follow that linear path through the story, no matter what.
Yeah.
So, the gameplay itself, it's fun. It's played. I've played about 40 or 50 games of the season now, and I've built my character up a little bit, so I'm not terrible anymore.
Now, do you get to customize this character, or is it like the other games you are given a character and that's who you are?
No, you can customize your character, full look, height, position, whatever you want to do with them. Hairstyle and stuff like that. One of the other things that was hidden behind some of the cosmetic options were hidden behind a paywall as well. So, like, if you wanted a haircut, you wanted a new haircut for your character after you created it, so you have to go in and
pay for it.
Virtual currency for your haircut.
Wow!
And to give you an idea, a haircut is about 1,500 virtual currency. I think they've recently actually just because people were complaining a lot, they actually just brought the prices of these things down significantly. But when you first started, it was 1,500 virtual currency for a haircut. To give it an idea, your NBA player earns about 500 virtual currency to play in a game.
Wow.
So if you went with the equivalent of what an NBA player would make in a game, even a low-end NBA player is making $25,000 or something like that. Like that low end is like $25,000 a game. So that means basically a haircut is about 75 grand in this world.
That's crazy.
Virtual currency to actual NBA dollars would be about $75,000 for a haircut.
That is crazy.
Yeah, I like the game. I would probably recommend that people hold off for a price drop, because if you're not going to be, it's going to be a very grindy experience, or you're going to end up paying double the price of the game to get your character up to a believable standards for an NBA player.
All right, well, you know what? On the topic of sports, I actually played a game this week that is kind of it's a sport, you know, but it's also a game and it's a sport I've never actually heard of in a video game. So I'm the type who loves snowboarding games, but again, it comes down to snowboarding and racing. I always like the arcadey versions, like SSX. Tricky was an amazing I just love that sort of fantasy aspect of racing and, you know, snowboarding. Yeah. But this week I heard of a game that just came out called Surf World Series. It's a surfing game. I have never actually seen or played a surfing game.
I remember playing one, and I either PlayStation or Nintendo 64. There was a surfing game out back in the day. I do remember there being one. I think it was more arcadey, like a Tricky, where you would be riding the waves and you'd have to do, a Tony Hawk type of thing or something like that.
And that would be cool. And this is along that lines of like a Tony Hawk. So you are supposed to pull off tricks. You're supposed to stay on the wave as long as you can. You build up points. So the levels I've played early in the game are basically get this many points. You know, and you do that points by doing tricks, by going under the wave and balancing and not wiping out, riding the top of the wave. You know, and the idea is to stay on the wave as long as you can. But it is actually, it's not easy to do, but it's very fluid. Like, it does feel like you're on water, but you're always moving so fast that you almost have no time to figure out what it is you need to do. It is so fast. You're constantly pressing buttons and clicking and making sure you're balanced and you're not wiping out, and you're keeping up your speed. So you got to go up the wave and kind of down the wave to kind of keep your speed up so that you can do a jump and a trick or get under the wave. And at first it was kind of like, hey, this is cool. But I'm going to be honest, it's not a game that I was super impressed with. I like some of it. I like the idea of doing the tricks. The problem is that as you're playing the game, there are... so you have an objective, but you also have challenges that you need to, or you want to try to clear in order to fully complete that level. Now, here's the problem. The level, for example, the level we're watching right now on the YouTube is... you have 2 rounds. The first round is get 3,000 points. Second round is beat 5,000 points. So, first round, no problem. Did it. Finished the first round. Went to do the second round. Wiped out. Now I have to repeat the entire chapter again.
The first and second round?
You have to pass them both, one after the... If you fail on the second round, you start at the first round again.
Well, that's a horrible checkpoint system.
Right? As soon as I realized that, I'm like, I'm done. That's... Like, I don't mind trying the second round again if I wiped out, but don't make me do the first round again. That was really ridiculous.
I will say, it doesn't look great for a next-gen game either.
It's not bad, but it's, you know, there's... really, I think a lot of it comes down into the sort of the water physics. But you're right. It's not... I mean, I've seen, I think, better water in Assassin's Creed. I don't know. It's not super high, you know, it's not 4K graphics. It doesn't feel like a full-on next-gen. But, again, I don't know what's behind the scenes in all the water physics. But, it is more of, like you mentioned, Tony Hawk. I would I would say this is like a Tony Hawk for the surfing world, right? It is more of
three people who might be interested in that in a video game.
And in Canada, how many, like, honestly, these, if you live in California, maybe this is going to be right up your alley type thing, right? But how many surfing cities are there out there, really, right? I mean, you think of surfing and it's California.
Or Australia or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. You know. But certainly not the rest of the world. But, I mean, it's not bad if you like simulations. This is more of a sim. I found it difficult. I know, I don't like the fact that you have to repeat everything if you fail one challenge.
Yeah.
That just felt wrong to me completely. But that is Surf World Series. That's available on PS4, Xbox One, and PC. And it's not a super huge price. It's $15 in Canadian, so it's probably $10 US.
Yeah.
So it's not, you know, you mentioned that it doesn't look like a next-gen game. Well, it's not priced like a next-gen game either.
No.
So,
it's that price point is okay. At that, you know, for that.
The price point isn't bad, and if it's something that may interest you, it's probably worth checking out if you're kind of into that sports simulation and maybe surfing is of your interest, then give it a shot. You and I both played a game this week that kind of surprised me. This is a game called Morphite. Again, available now on PS4, Xbox One, and PC for a measly $15 Canadian, $10 US. The best way I can describe this game, and I think you and I both agreed, it feels like a low-budget No Man's Sky with an actual story.
Yeah, this is the thing. It feels like No Man's Sky, but it feels like it gets it right. Like I felt more engaged with these low-res graphics than I did actual playing No Man's Sky.
What's great about this game is this game actually was available on iOS first. So this is a port of a phone game for one thing.
Oh, wow.
Which is like what? But think of this is probably way back in like GameCube days. Remember the games that were all polygons? Everything was rendered in polygons. This is a polygon-based game. And what's kind of cool about it, it's kind of got a mix of modern and old-school sound effects, too. Yeah. You know, there's real good music, but then there's sound effects and sounds that are sort of almost 8-bit sounding. You know, so it's got that mix of old school with modern day game, and it looks pretty good. It's pretty vibrant. I mean, some of the worlds you go to are pretty resplendent. You know, they're good looking worlds, which is what really reminds me of No Man's Sky. But at the same time, it's a platformer. It's a third person shooter,
puzzling platformer.
Yes, it's a third person shooter / puzzle platformer. And it's actually really, really fun. You go from planet to planet, just like in No Man's Sky. You plot your trajectory, and if you don't have enough fuel to get from one location to another, you have to stop at an interim system and fuel up at the space station, and then move on to another one. But there's an actual story you're following, which is really interesting. You know, I was really impressed with this game, to be honest with you. I really liked Morphite. Yeah. It was interesting. The Kit Kat character that you're with is a little robot cat. He's a little robot cat that is so sarcastic.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Well, like a cat. Like you would expect a cat
to be. Yes. And very robotic too. I actually like the voice of Kit Kat because it's literally is a very monotone robot.
Yeah.
You know? Really impressed with Morphite. It's not an expensive game. If you like that sort of space exploration platformer, I highly recommend Morphite. It's really well done.
I had a lot of fun with this. Again, just running around, like you're given when you first start, you're given a scanner, and you're like, well, you're going to go around and find things in worlds, which immediately
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky. So I'm like running around and scanning every tree I can find.
Yep.
You know, every enemy I come across, I'm like, I wonder if I can scan him before he murders me.
Oh, you can. I've done that too. Yeah, so I'm backing up.
Back away and scan.
Yeah, and the thing with the scanning is you have to keep it in scanning range the whole time, and if it's moving, you got to keep up with it. So I tried to scan like it looked like a bee, and it was moving so fast I couldn't keep up with it to scan it.
Yeah, I had same problem with one of the frogs when I first started. He kept going back and forth. I'm like,
Yeah, I couldn't scan it. But yes, I was being attacked by a creature, and I'm like, okay, I'm scanning you first before I kill you.
Yeah, you're like backing up and just trying to keep it scanning, like just trying not to die.
Exactly.
Really fun, and just they are. It is a really resplendent environment that you're given.
Well, it is. It's really kind of it's a gorgeous game for being a sort of low res polygon style game.
Yeah,
you know, it's like. I can't say enough about this. I'm going to keep... I don't know how long it is. I've played it for, I think, maybe 2 hours, approximately. You know, I kind of sat down the other day and really got lost in it. You know, it is a game you kind of feel like you get lost in. The story is good. You know, you can play as a male or a female. Which one did you choose?
I think I chose female. I don't recall
actually, I
choosing, to be honest. I don't remember choosing. I just...
Yeah,
maybe I just hit a button at the beginning, and I got what I got.
You and your buttons, right? But there's a lot of things. So, for example, when you get a new tool, it's honestly there are so many things that this game kind of, for lack of a better term, ripped off from No Man's Sky. There is, and by no means it's a full ripoff. Don't get me wrong. This isn't a clone of No Man's Sky. It has a lot of things it does on its own. But little things like, one, when you get a new weapon, it kind of looks like when you get a new item in No Man's Sky, you get that little pop fade in says you required this tool, and then it fades out. And the sound effect that you get when you acquire a new tool is very much like the No Man's Sky sound effect too. Like really, really sounds like it. You shoot things to get minerals. Like you shoot anything. What's funny about this game is if you don't know what to do with it, just shoot it. And Kit Kat literally tells you that at the beginning. You know, just shoot it. So
I run into something. Shoot it.
Shoot it.
Wait, but what is it? Just shoot it. It's always best to shoot first.
Just shoot it. And so you shoot the chest. You shoot rocks. You can shoot like crystals and stuff to get stuff you need for your up. Then you use that material to upgrade your ship, upgrade your visor, upgrade your suit. So there's a lot of things, and I don't know. Again, in development cycle, I don't know how long this game has been in development, but there are a lot of things in here I kind of feel like it borrowed from No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was reading about this game that a lot of their inspirations were like Turok. You know, remember N64 Turok? I loved that game, right? So games from that era really was their inspiration, and it shows because of the look of the game. You know, high polygons, very colorful. It's a first person, but it has that adventure. It has you know, you're scanning things. You have the first person shooter. You've got the platforming and the puzzle solving all in one, and you've got space travel from planetary space travel, which is really cool. Now, I had read something earlier that this game was supposed to have space battles. I have yet to come across any kind of space battles.
Because I checked the I played for the same as you a couple of hours, and then I had to go put the kit together. So I came back afterwards and started looking at a few things.
That
Leah's coming in to say hi.
You mean that kid right there?
All right, say hi really quickly.
Hi.
Say hi, everybody on the internet.
Hi, everybody.
All right, now go back out the room and close the door after you so Daddy can finish.
You're the best. Bye.
Bye, Leah.
All right, come on, go. Leah, come on, you know the rules.
Bye.
Anyways, as I was saying, I checked the achievements.
Bye. I don't
Get out.
the wrong way.
Sorry, 1 second.
That right there is the joys of a live show.
Yes, this is what happens when you have children. So as you can see why I played only 2 hours and I haven't been able to play much more after that is something distracted me.
Because of that, yes.
Because of that. But I did check the achievements on it, and there's some achievements for space battles. So they are in the game somewhere.
Yeah, but I haven't come across them yet. So far I've just been... When you tell you want to go to one to a system, it just auto takes you. Like, you don't fly or anything. It just takes you, and you choose from a star map where you want to go. Anyway, highly recommend it. It's probably $10 US. I know it's $15 Canadian. PS4, Xbox One, and PC, and apparently iOS as well. It came at iOS first, so this is a it's a port to the consoles.
Yeah, good port. I like it. Recommend it.
Finally, one more game real quick. I haven't played this one as long, so I'll have more to say about it later. The Solus Project. Now, Tico, I know you played this game a while back on Xbox. The Solus Project.
Yes.
Now, I started playing this because they just released it for PS4 and PSVR.
VR would be really cool for this.
Yeah, and I haven't tried it in VR yet, so I sat down to play it, to capture a little bit of video. And again, I'm only at the beginning stages of the game. Really, what I want to say about this game is it's a survival game, but not like Ark, where you kind of don't know what you're doing. You don't die within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You know? But it does have that survival element, but a lot of it is just like mystery. What do I do? How do I get there? But I also found that it certainly does not hold your hand in any way. There's like, you need to get to this location, and I found 2 ways towards the location, and I can't figure out how to actually get in there. Like, I'm blocked, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do to get there. And then, of course, as the case may be, after I finish playing the game and walk away, my brain starts thinking about it, and something came to mind. I picked up an object later in the game that was, and it didn't tell me what it was. It was just some weird artifact-like thing. And I thought, oh, maybe I need to use that somewhere to get in. So next time I jump in, I'm going to try it. I'm also going to give it a try in VR to see how that
I'd be really interested to see how this looks at, like, you know, what your thoughts are on VR in this game, because I actually really enjoyed this on the Xbox.
Yeah, so it's out now, PS4 and PSVR, and it's one version. You get both. So if you don't have VR, you can still purchase this and play it as is. And if you do have VR, then you can also play it in VR, which I think is great. You know, it's not 2 separate purchases like, you know, some other game developers doing stuff like that. Bethesda. Sorry,
well, Bethesda
had something in my throat there.
Don't they? Is it 7 or 8 different purchases that they're putting on you?
Pretty much. You know, you like Skyrim? Here, purchase it 20 times.
At least.
So that's the Solus Project. I hope by next week I'll have a little bit more footage, possibly from VR, give you an idea of how it works in VR. But, you know, it's a good-looking game. I wouldn't say this looks like a full-on next-gen 4K game by any means. Yeah. You know, it's not it doesn't feel like it doesn't remind me of like the Witcher environments, for example, you know, or Dragon Quest Inquisition. You know, it's not that like beautiful. But the Solus Project, keep in mind, is not a AAA game.
No, I think it was a Steam title originally. I think that they put it out there so it will run on multiple devices, so you don't have to worry necessarily about a low-end PC. Yeah,
and you know, it's not a high-end production studio, so I wouldn't expect AAA stuff like you'd get from CD Projekt Red, you know, or BioWare. So, but it's still a good-looking game. It plays well. It feels good to play, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't have any questions of what do I do. It was pretty straightforward, but it was like the puzzle itself is figuring out how to do what it is you need to do. You craft stuff, you combine items. You know, if you want to make a torch, you need to find you find a pipe from the wreckage of your ship, and then you find this material that's like a plant that you attach to it, and then you can soak it in oil and then light it with a burning flame that you happen to find. So those 4 things you kind of have to combine all into one to make a torch.
Yeah, you need all those elements. And
now, here's the cool thing before we sign off on this game. Near the end of my gameplay, I got chased by a freaking tornado, Tico.
Yeah, because it's random environments.
Yeah, a tornado appeared just off the horizon, and it was getting closer and closer, and you could feel the vibration in the controller as the wind was picking up. Yeah. And I started going towards where I needed to go, and I'm like, nope, the tornado's coming this way. Get our way! Like, wow.
Hide.
I gotta hide, and then I actually ended up getting a trophy for surviving a hurricane.
Nice.
So part of me was like, what would happen if I don't move? You know, for
think
those
you
watching the
die.
video, I mean, you can see how close I was to that hurricane. It was like right on the horizon, right on the coming up towards the beach there, and I'm running, get away! It was pretty cool. So next time I see a hurricane, I might actually walk into it and see what happens.
Wouldn't recommend that.
Why, have you done it?
No, but I'm just, gathering from the recent news and all that. I just don't imagine it's a good
Right?
plan.
And that's the first thing that came to mind was all like, the recent news of all the hurricanes in the States, and then suddenly a hurricane appears in game. So, yeah, I survived a hurricane in the Solus project.
It's technically a tornado, not a hurricane.
Tornado, I'm sorry, it is a tornado, a twister. It was a twister. Anti-M, it's a twister, it's a twister! Anyway, that is it for our gaming talk. Let's move on to the stuff we like to talk about. Well, Nintendo Switch has been in the news a lot lately. So many games coming to the Switch. Bethesda has announced a whole ton. But speaking of games on the Switch that you didn't expect to see on the Switch, there is apparently every Switch out there has a copy of the original NES Golf hidden on it somewhere.
Yeah, what they actually has is an NES emulator built into each one with a copy of
NES Golf. Now, nobody is getting any answers from Nintendo on why it's there. Apparently, it is a working copy that can be played with motion controls, or regular controls. There is no word on how to get to it.
There was something that came out the other day that if you have to play it on, like, you have to do it. I think it's in July on the day. I think it was the day Iwata passed away or something like that. If there's something that can be unlocked there,
and that is the theory as to why it's there, because this game was created by Iwata.
Yeah,
this was one of his first games that he created, and the idea here is that this is in memorial of him. Yeah, because so Satoru Iwata, he died in 2015, of course. This is one of the games that he created, and this is something they do in Japan, is they create these memorials to, beloved people. Yeah, and so the speculation here is this was created and put on the Switch as a memorial to him, and that totally makes sense to me. Yeah, so they've speculated that it will unlock on the anniversary of his passing in July. So and that's I guess why people who've been playing with some people have been playing with the source code and stuff have said the only way to unlock this is to do so on that day, and you can't because it has an internal clock, so there's no way to do it otherwise. I'm very interested to see this because I remember this game, NES Golf. I played tons of this when I was a kid. I would love to play this again. So this is being called an onamori, or a charm. And it's been explained that onamori are bought at shrines in Japan, and keeping one close will protect or give good luck to the owner. And of course, everyone loved Satoru Iwata. So the idea here is this is that charm to keep with the Switch to bring it good luck. So that's kind of cool, It's a nice gesture. I would like to play it still. Right. Yeah. Right. I don't think it takes away from that good luck to let me, have a round or two of golf with the Joy-Con controllers. That is true. So a while back we talked about crossplay and why is PS4 not playing nice with Xbox, but it turns out that Fortnite, the recently released open shooter, they actually featured PS4 and Xbox One crossplay by accident. By accident, it actually worked, and then they had to shut it off. Yeah. So this tells me that this is already working. It can be done, and it works. But some reason PS4 or Sony is not allowing it. I mean, come on. Just make it happen. I want to play Destiny with you. Turn that button on so we can play. Right? You're talking Why is that not happening? We've both been playing Destiny, and I'm actually going to be jumping in to do the raid tonight.
at around 9 o'clock, and I'm thinking to myself, it'd be great if you could join us because we're playing on PS4. But open up the crossplay.
It's one button. Just press the button.
Press the button. Well, it's not even a button because obviously it works. Fortnite did it accidentally, and the world was a greater place because of it. And then they had to shut it off. So they just proved that it's not something Sony needs to do. They just need to say, okay, you can do it.
Yeah, just fire up the thumbs up and we're away.
Thumbs up.
We'll get to play.
Finger guns.
Just finger guns and thumbs up. Let's make it happen. We want to play our games together.
Exactly. I mean, how sweet would it be to do cross-platform on Destiny? Like, seriously.
Yeah, it expands the life of the game. It means that everybody's happy. Like, you don't have people arguing this back and forth, which is better, Sony or Xbox or anything. Everybody can play what they want to play it on. They can play with their friends that they want to play with, and they don't have to worry about it.
Imagine the console wars. Like, I can sort of, if you had this, the console wars would kind of disappear.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't matter what system you have now if you can all just play together.
You buy what you want, and then it's the onus is not on. Well, you have to it's basically they're holding you hostage right now. Sean, you want to play with your friends? You got to buy a PS4 copy and a PS4 to do it.
That's right.
And that's the thing. They're holding you hostage to that. Not play which one you want. We're going to actually make the system better, so you can decide if Sony outclasses the Xbox because it's got a better Blu-ray player, or it's got better functionality, or it's got more teraflops, or whatever it's got. You make the decision on that, but you can play with whoever you want. Like, that's what it should be. Like, let people make their decision as to the console they prefer, and don't hold them hostage to the infrastructure and the system.
Yeah, don't hold players hostage to their, for lack of a better term, their loyalties. Like, a lot of people would have loyalties. See, there are people who have loyalties to Microsoft. That is what they prefer. I get it. I've personally, I have loyalties per generation. Right, so yes, I was loyal to Xbox 360. Now I'm loyal to PS4. I was loyal to iPhone until I went and got myself a Galaxy S6. S8 Plus. My wife and I.
That's
both
upgraded. $1,000 plus, price point that helped you make that decision.
Well, that's true. I wasn't about to fork over $1,300 for a phone, and my wife and I got these at a really good, reasonable price. So,
but I am enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. I'm actually enjoying the experience here. But you're right. It's like don't punish me because of what I've chosen to enjoy this generation.
Yeah.
So Again, Fortnite proved that it works, it's available, but the higher-ups just aren't giving the thumbs up to let it happen.
Yeah.
And that's on them.
And while we're on the topic of games like Fortnite, do you remember Battleborn?
I do. I have this game still.
Battleborn is not that old.
No.
It's like less than 2 years. It's a year and a half old. Not even 15 months, but it's actually getting no more updates. It's basically ending. It's at end of life already after 15 months. That means that these MOBA games are in such, like, there's such an overcrowding of MOBA games now that Battleborn can't even survive.
Well, Battleborn had the unfortunate timing to come out at the same time as Overwatch.
This is true.
And I've played both. I like some of the things that Battleborn did. I am a fan of Gearbox. I'm a fan of the sort of the aesthetic and the universe that Borderlands and stuff like that from them has. That being said, the gameplay itself was not nearly as good as Overwatch. Overwatch brings a lot more to the table when it comes to that, and this is what hurt them is they came out in direct competition with a game that absolutely just rocketed, out of the stratosphere for this.
Now, am I thinking of a different game? But is Battleborn the one that also had like a single player campaign?
They had single player missions, so technically there was campaign missions that you could do in co-op, but it was really
okay. So I am thinking the right one.
Yeah, like you had AI enemies that you and your friends could go and defeat and stuff like that.
So that'll obviously still work when the game shuts down, essentially, right?
Yeah. Well, it's not saying it's shutting down. It's saying there's no more updates.
Because
there was new characters every month and stuff like that. Same as Overwatch adds new characters and stuff on the regular. So they're just not adding any more content or anything like that.
The servers aren't shutting down. Right.
Yeah.
There's no more plans to update the game. The servers will be up and active for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Right. So the game itself isn't ending per se, but you're not going to get anything new in the game. It's going to be what you got is it, and that's the game.
Yeah. And this is Gearbox. I believe they're turning their focus towards Borderlands 3 at this point.
And that could be it, but I kind of wonder if it's also just the lack of interest in the game.
It didn't sell well. It did not sell well at all.
No.
So that probably plays a large part into it. I'm sure if it sold better, they would probably just be milking it like crazy, like many of the others do.
And speaking of things shutting down, Toys R Us.
Not shutting down per se, but they have filed for bankruptcy protection in the States.
Yeah. My understanding is they're doing this, but they're also looking at doing a restructuring.
Right, they are massively in debt right now.
Yeah,
and they have a huge amount of money due at the end of this quarter. So they have filed for bankruptcy protection to try to allow them the opportunity to sort of restructure how they're doing things and hopefully stay afloat.
Well, here's the thing with Toys R Us, though. Toys R Us actually used to be the place to go for toys.
Yeah.
Right, but it's really not anymore.
No.
Like now you can pretty much go not anywhere, but you go to Walmart and they have all the same product. They don't have as much as Toys R Us.
Yeah. I think the problem is you can purchase this stuff online. You can go to Amazon and stuff like that, and it'll be shipped to your door within less than 24 hours, and you'll have your toy in hand. You don't have to.
And the pricing at Toys R Us, as a specialty store carrying more products than anyone else, their prices were never that good.
Yeah.
They were kind of on the pricey side.
Yeah, gaming as well. I mean, they have, and that's from our side of things. Like their gaming stuff. Every once in a while, you'd see a really good buy two get one free deal or something like that. But for the most part, not a huge incentive to do your shopping there as opposed to anywhere else.
No, I think the last thing I bought there was I bought a Nerf gun for work, and it turned out that the package I bought was actually a returned gun that didn't work.
Yeah.
So I took it back, ended up buying one from Walmart anyway. And then before that, the last thing I bought there, I think, were the discounted Disney Infinity figures when they were like $5.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
I think the last thing we bought, we had you have birthday parties for kids and stuff like that. So I think that there was a kid in Leah's class that had a birthday, so we had to do some. So we went in there and we found some Paw Patrol toy or something like that.
Yeah.
But
but you know what? Toys R Us, it's been around since we were kids.
Yeah.
I remember in Hamilton, where you live and where I used to live. Do you remember when the Toys R Us opened? The grand opening.
I didn't live here then.
Oh, okay.
I lived in BC for that, but yes.
So I was there the grand opening, and David Hasselhoff was there. This is in his Knight Rider heyday. He came to our Toys R Us grand opening, and it was just amazing. I went up there with a friend, and we were just hanging around waiting to see David Hasselhoff at Toys R Us. And I remember going into Toys R Us every time I got paid in high school to see what new video games for my Game Boy came out.
Yeah.
And do you remember when the games were in these big cases? Like you had to flip the cases around. They're like showcases, and it was just a box, right?
Yeah. You
look at all the new games, and then you had to grab a sheet of paper, for the one you wanted, and take it to the back where everything was locked up.
Yeah,
right.
So you had to pay for it. Everything was going to go missing otherwise.
Right, you had to pay for it first, and then you take your slip and you go to the back where they hand you the product, and then you leave.
Yeah, I still remember, like as a kid, just going in there and just the fact that you're in basically a supermarket of toys. Like, as a kid, was overwhelming as a kid.
I know.
I don't know. It has changed. I mean, you've got your Toys R Us and the baby, like half the stores babies are us now with cribs and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah,
it's changed a lot.
It has changed a lot. I mean, it is still hard to see. Every time you hear about these brick and mortar locations that are, sort of going away. I mean, we lost our Future Shop recently, and Target and Zellers, and like all these brick and mortar, places getting shuttered.
We didn't really lose Target. We gained Target for about 12 months, and then it decided, and then it's gone.
Listen, I miss Target. I enjoyed shopping at Target.
I liked Target when it came to Canada too. I really did. So, but yeah, lots of
I don't know. It's too bad. Now, from what I understand, the Canadian Toys R Us's are being run separately, and are not affected by this bankruptcy filing.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
So I don't know if it will eventually, but I guess this particular issue is not affecting the Canadian Toys R Us's.
Well, it probably would be a different corporation. It's literally Toys R Us Canada.
Yeah, and they're usually run separately. Like Walmart Canada is actually a separate arm than the U.S. Walmart.
Than the U.S. Yeah.
So you're probably very well right. Is they're not affected by the debt of Toys R Us US.
They're not affected by the debt, but I mean, whatever happens in the States will have an effect on. Yes. What we do see. So we may see less cool stuff. We may see
the restructuring.
Changes.
Whatever restructuring happens there, we may see it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We wish you luck, Toys R Us.
And on the topic of restructuring,
yes,
apparently HTC Vive is ditching the PC in China thanks to a cloud VR service that's coming. So this is happening in China. You can, instead of having to have a high-end PC to run the Vive, you can buy this set-top box and subscribe to a cloud service and run any VR game for the HTC Vive you want through the internet.
It's interesting.
This is really interesting because, and this is kind of, I'm wondering, this is probably a test bed for them in China right now. But this is really interesting. If you could take VR itself, decouple it from the PC itself, so you don't need, a $1,500 or more PC to run this $500 VR set. If all you need is the VR and then this rental service that gives you the set-top box.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe more people might get on board to try out, VR. Because then the cost of entry is significantly lower.
Yeah, well, that's the big thing is like I know my PC won't run VR.
Right. Yeah.
Not even close.
So you would, if you wanted VR on PC, you would have to buy both a PC and the VR headset, right?
Yeah.
But even when it comes to PlayStation VR, you still need a PlayStation. Right? Yeah. So you still need a $400 PlayStation plus the $400 or whatever it is now, $500 VR, right? You're still talking almost $1,000 to get VR, whereas HTC with this cloud service is saying that your cost to entry is just the VR system itself, and it plugs into this set-top box.
And how much is a set-top box? Like that's a rental?
It's a rental. If I remember correctly, it was something like $20 or $30 a month. They were talking about, Chinese pricing, right? So it is. So they're talking about the yuan. I don't know how to pronounce this.
The yuan.
Customers can pay a lump sum of about $1,000 and get full ownership of Vive plus a 1-year cloud VR. So that's Cloud VR, the Cloud VR plus the HTC Vive for $1,000.
Yeah.
The Vive alone in China costs $835. So you're talking $200 for a year subscription. So we're talking $20 a month approximately.
In that it's a little it's about $75 a month if you're just going month to month. But if you're purchasing that plan, that's a pretty good deal.
Well, yeah, it's because $75 a month is, but they're also saying that actual price is yet to be set.
Yes,
$75 a month is a lot. Don't get me wrong. That's a lot. $20 a month for something like that might be reasonable, but apparently the entire catalog of HTC Vive games are available.
Yeah, so if you're not paying extra for that, then $75 is not terrible.
Yeah, it's basically a game service, right?
Yeah, it's a game. It's a game a month basically. You're paying for one game a month with that at that price point.
Yeah.
And while we're on the topic of VR, I read an awesome article. Some devs chimed in on the state of VR today, or this week, and they're saying that VR right now is in the same place as where home PCs were way back in the days of like the Atari 800.
Yeah.
So what happens with technology like this? First of all, you get the announcement of the technology, right? And people start dreaming. The slope of the expectation goes way up, and people are like, oh man, it's going to change the industry. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. You have this expectation. Okay. Jeff and I had an expectation of PlayStation VR.
Yeah.
And then it launches, and the hardware goes through what they call the trough of disillusionment. So you don't quite get what you expected.
Yeah.
You know, you're disappointed in the technology. Jeff and I were never really disappointed, but I think somehow our expectations were still higher than what we got.
Yeah.
And then you start realizing, okay, now I'm starting to understand where the technology is going, what it can do. You get this, what they call the slope of enlightenment, and it kind of goes up as time moves on. It goes back up to the visibility scale and how visible it is to the masses. And then eventually it evens out to the plateau of productivity, and this is where the technology becomes known. It kind of finds its place in the world, and people start understanding what it does, and expectations are evened out, and it moves on, like the PC.
And you get good practical uses for this product.
You get good practical uses, exactly. And right now, apparently VR has, they've gone to the peak of inflated expectations. We've gone through the trough of disillusionment. We are currently on the slope of enlightenment. Okay, so right now, VR is not going to bring any of these companies or any of these gaming developers profit. Chances are they're not profiting from any of the games yet.
Yeah.
And that's the nature of where we are in its life cycle. Slowly but surely, as they realize what are the uses, what are the best games, because again, we've said it on the show, there are no that killer game. There is no killer app for VR yet.
No, not yet.
Right?
Nothing that's there's nothing that says to me, you have to go buy VR because you have to be experiencing this title.
Exactly.
Nothing's there that does that yet.
Yeah, the same thing in the back in the 80s with the arcades. Arcades did not go until Space Invaders.
Yeah.
Once Space Invaders hit arcades, it was like boom. That was like people were pumping quarters into Space Invaders, right? And suddenly the industry realized this is what the arcade is. This is what it can do. This is what people want.
Yeah.
And we are still trying to figure that out on VR. It's a really great, it's an incredible article, honestly. It's at Gama Sutra, and again, the links are always in our show notes. Go check out the link. It is a fantastic read. I was really, really interested. It correlates VR today to the world of PC and arcades back in the day. They went through the exact same thing that VR is going through right now. You know? And eventually it's going to get to the point where VR and the industry says, okay, this is what we can use VR for. And we're not talking just gaming. I'm talking for anything, So it's a great read. Go check it out. Gama Sutra, the link is in our show notes. I think it's fantastic. I was also excited this week. Did you see the trailer for the new Tomb Raider movie?
I have not actually seen. I've seen bits and pieces of the trailer go by really quickly, like sort of as I've been, scrolling stuff.
Oh my gosh!
It looks fantastic from what I've seen.
Tico, I saw the trailer, and all I could think was, "Wow!" First of all, they've got the look perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, she looks like Lara Croft.
She looks like the video game.
Yeah, the outfit is right out of the new game. It's fantastic. It's like, holy crap, I'm looking at the 2013 game come to life. Not only that, but the crash of the Endurance at the beginning of the game is in the freaking movie.
Yeah.
Like,
I am looking, this is what, a March release, this movie?
Next year, yeah. So there are 6 things that the director actually used as inspirations or influences for the game. First of all, the look of Lara Croft we just mentioned. She looks great. She looks like Lara Croft from the game.
Brilliant casting there.
The inclusion of Trinity. So Trinity is in there. They mentioned Trinity. That's one of the big bads, which has been the big bad in a lot of the Tomb Raider games. Trinity has been mentioned, but more prominently in the last 2 rebooted games.
Yeah.
Lara's weapons choice. You're going to find her with the dual pistol, but most of the movie is going to deal with bow and arrow because of where she is, just like the first game. Also, the freaking climbing axe is in it. And it's like, awesome. And she's going to use it like you use it in the game.
Well, those are some fantastic in-game moments.
Yes.
Where you're grabbing for purchase with that axe. It's a fantastic moment. You can visually you can feel that as a movie moment when you're playing it.
Oh yeah. And then there's the scene with the Endurance when the Endurance sinks and she has to jump. It breaks in half. She jumps out. That's all in it. And then there's also a scene I believe is right out of the first game. If you remember it's almost still in the tutorial phase where they're teaching you how to run and grab ledges and climb up, and it's on this teetering airplane that the wing breaks when you jump off of it and it falls down the crevice. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That scene is in the freaking movie. I can't. It's like, honestly, I'm watching the movie. I'm watching the trailer for the movie, and you know how much I love Tomb Raider. I'm watching the trailer, and all I can think of is they're bringing the game to life beautifully.
March cannot come fast enough now.
Oh, if I just hope they get it right. You know, Assassin's Creed, huge Assassin's Creed fan. You guys know that. I was excited for the Assassin's Creed movie, but I'm going to be honest, the trailers never actually did anything for me.
Yeah,
and it turned out the trailers were right. The movie
didn't do anything for you either. So it gave you the exact expectation from the trailer.
When I see the trailer for Tomb Raider, I am beyond excited because it feels like they are getting it right.
Yeah.
You know, they understand Tomb Raider, from the point of view, let's back it up, from the point of view of the new games.
Yes, okay. the new universe that was created with these new games. Yes.
Right. So I am super excited for this trailer. I have a bug flying around my head. I can't wait. Yeah, it's coming out next year. It cannot come soon enough. It's so good. Yeah. How about you? How are you on Tomb Raider? Do you like Tomb Raider?
The original games, I enjoyed them, but I was never really a huge fan. The new games, the Crystal Dynamics, is that?
Yeah, it's still Crystal Dynamics, yeah.
Yeah, so the new ones with the Crystal Dynamic games, those are absolutely brilliant. Absolutely love those games.
Yeah. Well, Crystal Dynamics has been Tomb Raider all along.
Oh, has it? Okay, so then the new ones that they've just the last 2, I guess. The last two reboots have been absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Are must play games in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
And really looking forward to this movie because of my involvement with those 2 games, with my enjoyment of those 2 games.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see it come to life. I mean, I don't expect him to follow the exact pace by pace or beat by beat from the game, but it looks
it's an 8-hour game. He's got to fit into a 2-hour movie, so it's not really possible.
But it looks like they are paying homage to the games in ways that are going to be satisfying.
Yeah,
I'm really excited. Finally, one last thing before we sign off. Thing I was not a fan of. You remember the original Duke controller from the original Xbox? It's coming back.
I was okay with it. I have bigger hands, so I was okay with it. It was not, it's not a comfortable controller. It's not the best designed controller.
It's coming back. It's going to be in stores again, and all I can think is, why? Why?
Because people buy old stuff. I mean, the same reason people are buying NES Classics and SNES Classics, because it's whatever's old is fresh again. They want this old thing. People are going to buy. It's like, man, I got a Duke controller again, and then they're going to put it on their shelf and use their Elite controller because the thing's too bloody big.
Well, and that's the thing. So it is going to work with the Xbox One. Is that the idea here?
Yeah, it is a wired controller, third-party wired controller.
I just why? Just why?
I don't know.
I don't get it.
It doesn't make sense to me, but listen, people People like this stuff.
Listen,
Sid's going to absolutely love this because he loves when they bring back all these old things and stuff like that.
There is a reason why the Xbox 360 design was such a hit.
Yeah.
Why bring back the controller that most of the world hated?
Now, here's the if they were packaging this controller in with new consoles and saying this is what we're bringing back, then I can agree with you. But the fact is they're going to say, hey, it's a piece of nostalgia. If you liked it and you want to play with that again, give us $70.
So next thing you know, what, they're going to come out with the N64 controller for the Switch with the 3 prongs on it?
You've just made somebody a bunch of money by suggesting that, Sean. Well, somebody is now making that...
And
going into production as you speak, and it's going to be on shelves for $40 this holiday season.
And it's not only that, Tico, but it splits in half and can attach right to it.
Yeah, I guarantee you, somebody will do that, and somebody will buy it. Somebody will pay that money for it. Oh. It costs them. They're going to sell this thing for $70. It costs them $15 to make.
Can I be completely honest about the N64 controller?
You may.
I loved it. I know I'm in the majority. I'm in the minority here, but I loved the N64 controller.
I actually did like that controller as well. It
felt like I was holding a gun.
Yeah,
you know, right when you hold it in the middle with the analog stick and the trigger.
Like, it was not the best looking controller, but it was functional for what it did at the time.
Yeah, it was unique. It was definitely unique. Well, that is it for this episode of OMG Hour. Episode 2. Yeah, it's already. It's episode 268. Well, you know, Jeff's not going on and on, right? He lets you talk. That's why.
I know. Maybe that's why. Maybe it does. It feels longer. I feel like I've said more words than usual.
That's why it went faster, because you're not just sitting around saying nothing.
That could be it.
I think. Does Jeff intimidate you? Is that what's going on? Are you intimidated by Jeff?
He's bigger than me, and he writes me threatening texts.
All right, take us out.
All right, like, subscribe, comment, share us with your friends. You can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Second Place, and you can follow the show on Twitter at the OMG Hour.
I, of course, am Ziantane. That is Xiantayne. And our show notes, as mentioned before, can be found online at omgnexus.com, and definitely read that article if you're interested in VR and kind of where it's going in the industry right now. Really great read. And go check out the Tomb Raider trailer if you love the games. That's it for this episode. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back again next week, as long as the world doesn't end.
Assuming, that's tomorrow. Yeah. Late afternoon, I think.
So,
I don't know.
We'll see. We might be back. This has been an OMGNexus.com production.